was the shift in perception that you had to look at it differently. And even though there was a lot going on in your head that we could just experience with you, the bottom line was that you were able to move out of the ego and into that place of being centered and feeling centered. And the shift in you created the shift in him, which is really important in our relationships. And it's, that's what happens when we get out of the ego and we get into our Holy Spirit. So last time that I spoke with all of you, we talked about the ego, and I like to talk about it all the time because I have one and it's always going on full blast. And it takes a lot of practice for us to recognize that when we're not comfortable, when we're not feeling okay, it's because our ego is the voice that is running the show. And the ego is the part of us that is wounded, the part of us that won't let us heal the wound. It says, I'll never get over this, or I'll never forget this, or I'll never forgive this, or I'm not forgivable, you're not forgivable, the whole world is unforgivable. And and so, there isn't anything that we can't heal from, but the ego won't let us. It just attacks us unmercifully. And then in order to, as soon as it attacks us, then it projects that out onto someone else. And this doesn't mean that, nobody's ever doing anything wrong. People do make, as the Course says, make mistakes all the time. But the ego won't let us get beyond the feelings. It wants us to stay stuck in those negative emotions. And there's either anger or there's guilt. And the ego plays this ping pong game between the two emotions because it doesn't want us to see the real emotion. And the real emotion that's going on with the ego is fear. The ego doesn't want to be unhappy, but it's more afraid of being happy. So it doesn't let us identify that what we're really afraid of is fear. Because if I address the fear underneath the anger and guilt, then I'll be free. But the ego doesn't want us to be free. The ego wants us to stay stuck in this box that it created, that life created. And the ego said, well, that person hurt me, so wall number 1's going to go up. And that situation disappointed me, so wall number 2's going to go up. And so on with wall number 3 and wall number 4, and then the lid goes on top. And we live in this box with the ego. And this box of the ego is the human body. And we begin to use the human body to use other human bodies to get what we think we want. But the only problem with this is that we keep searching and never finding. That's what the Course teaches us. Maybe I'll try this, or maybe I'll try that, or maybe I'll use this, or maybe I'll use that. And we become addicted to everyone and everything, and we don't even realize what we're doing because the ego never lets us see what we're doing. And of course, all those things become dissatisfying, so we need something else or someone else, and we become pure ego-based users, and we're never happy and never satisfied, and we need more and more and more. And that the walls on the box get thicker and thicker and thicker, and the lid gets on tighter and tighter and tighter. And days go by, and weeks go by, and months go by, and years go by, and we don't understand why our life is the way it is. It's for one reason and one reason only. The ego is running the show. And the ego is fear. It's, like I said, it's covered up. The Course teaches us it's covered up with anger and guilt. Either you're guilty or I'm guilty. I'm angry because you're guilty, or I'm angry because I'm guilty. And the ego will create all kinds of stories, whether they're true or not, to keep us in the box. Now, it could be that someone has done something to us, and that needs to be addressed, but we address it from the place of strength and love, not from the place of anger and guilt. And it affects all of our relationships. The ego has one purpose: to create so much separation that we are so miserable, we don't want to be here anymore. And so it wants us to be addicted. It wants us to be isolated. It wants us to be separated. It wants us to be alone so that it can claim our life. Now, I know this sounds crazy, because it is crazy. It's crazy that we listen to this voice that will tell us to do something, and it's always going to be the wrong thing to do. And then as soon as we do it, it beats us up for doing it. I talk a lot about addiction, how it doesn't let us see that we have an addiction, and it'll talk us into doing something to make us feel better, and then the minute we do it, it criticizes us for doing it. Or it blinds us to the fact of how that particular behavior is blocking us and keeping the lid on us and blocking us from what we really want. And what we really want is to fulfill our purpose here, and to enjoy our lives, and to love one another, and to share and receive love. So if you're not doing that, and you're not feeling that fulfillment, the ego is still somewhat in control, if not completely in control. So that's kind of like the crash course on the ego. What I wanted to talk about tonight is the counterpart. And the counterpart of the ego is the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is who we really are. We're not really, we're here in this vehicle called the human body. We're here to have an adventure. We're here to share and receive love. We're here on this playground called planet Earth to love. Most of us don't do that until we realize that's why we're here. And we're not afraid of it anymore, because we've been so conditioned through defects and faults and faulty systems, family and work or whatever, that we become so frightened that we're in the box. But once we realize that's not why we're here, we have a mission, we have a purpose, we're here to share and receive love, and each one of us has gifts. Each one of us has very special gifts and we're here to heal ourselves and one another and to connect through a place of love. But we came here, we, meaning our spiritual self, came here and chose to live a life. And we forgot, because of all these traumatic experiences that happen, or because we weren't trained to remember. Babies know it when they come, but then we forget through life's experiences. So we forget that who we are is pure love. And that's what the Holy Spirit is. The Holy Spirit is pure love. That is who you are. That's who you will always be. That is your essence. That is your true self. And that is you. And so what the Course in Miracles has taught us is that we can learn how to remember that, and we can learn how to access that part of ourselves, so that whenever we aren't happy, we can access the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, love doesn't force itself on anyone or anything. Love just is, and it is always there to help, to comfort, to soothe, to give us what we need in the moment. And so we have to ask, because it will not intrude itself upon us. And so when, this is kind of the shift from religion where, God is out there and he bestows his, wrath on us or his blessings on us. But the Course teaches us that there is no wrath, there's only love. Whatever wrath is from our ego or other people's egos. And that who we really are is this love and this part that's within us always. And all we have to do is access it, to learn how to communicate with that part of ourselves, to learn how to be comforted by that part of ourselves. And when we're jammed up, to learn how to ask for help from that part of ourselves. Then we will get the comfort, we will get the wisdom, we will get the answers. And it may not be instantly, not that it's not provided instantly, but we aren't always instantly ready to receive it. And so it's important to be able to recognize. I'm sorry about the dinging. I have it turned off and I don't know why it's still coming through.
That was me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I thought I had my phone turned off.
Where was I? I'm on Do Not Disturb. I don't know why these are coming through. So anyhow, the Holy Spirit is pure love and pure wisdom and pure truth and pure in everything wonderful and good, which is who you are, which is who you truly are. It's who you are when you came in through the body, and it's who you will be when you leave and go home. And so we all have that peace of God within us, and that peace of God is the pure love. And so, you know, I talk about this all the time. I think it's so easy to understand. If I'm upset, I can ask the Holy Spirit for help. But it's not so easy to do it, because we forget, because the ego's ramping us up, the ego's overriding everything, and it's hard to remember. And sometimes, you know, when we're in that moment of passion, you know, and we're all fired up, it's hard to remember to ask the Holy Spirit for help. And sometimes, I know for myself, when I'm feeling all that, sometimes I just have to say, help, 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 help. Help, help, help. And I will be able to contain myself, which is a miracle in those cases where I'm really ramped up. But at the same time, it doesn't mean we're a victim. We're never a victim. The Holy Spirit would never have us be a victim. Sometimes we have to revisit a situation when we are centered and calm. And sometimes we just have to, in the moment, just step back into the Holy Spirit and be an observer. And sometimes it will give us the words in the moment. You know, the Holy Spirit knows what to say, when to say it, how to say it, who to say it to. So we learn to listen to that guidance rather than the screeching, you know, say it now and get it now and, you know, do it now and all that. To be able to make sure that we're in that place of truth. And sometimes it means saying things that are uncomfortable for us and for other people. And sometimes it means doing things that, you know, don't feel necessarily right. And sometimes it means that we have to transition a relationship. But it doesn't mean that we have to listen to the ego. And when we know we've made the right decision, we are at peace. It may not feel comfortable. It may feel sad. It may feel scary, but we will be at peace because we will sense that from the Holy Spirit. But if we're listening to the ego, there is no peace. We will never be at peace. We will only feel the conflict over and over again. And the Course teaches us that if you are in conflict, you haven't made the right decision. So that's the key. And sometimes we hold on, you know, we hold on because we don't want to let go. We hold on to something that it's like a hot potato, you know, we're burning, 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 and the ego says, don't let go, don't let go. And the Holy Spirit isn't going to jump in and say, let go. But if we ask, you know, help, it'll say, let go. And I can remember one time I was going through a very painful time. And I was obsessing about something and obsessing and obsessing and obsessing and obsessing. And I said, Holy Spirit, please help me. And it said, we've heard this a million times, but it just said, let go, stop it. And I was like, whoa. And I did. And I got such a sense of peace and freedom. And I was in so much intensity that I had no idea that my ego was just going ran and ran and ran and ran and ran it. And when I just let go, and I let go of this relationship, and I just let go of anything and needing any kind of outcome, and just stop it, stop. I had such a sense of peace come over me, like, oh my God, like I'd been rescued from the middle of a whirlpool in the middle of the ocean, like I was on dry land with the sun shining on me. And I was like, why was I doing that to myself? Well, I was doing it to myself because I forgot that I'm, this human ego had a hold of me. And I forgot that I don't have to be in that turmoil. And I forgot that peace was mine for the asking. And just letting go. Sometimes we think, oh, if I let go of this situation, I'll be unhappy. If I let go of this person, I'll never find anybody like that again. If I let go of this particular career that I can't stand, or if I take this risk, all of that is fear-based. And the Course teaches us that we need to be love-based in our decisions, that we can trust that we have a loving Creator. That loving Creator is not out to get us. The only person that's out to get us is ourselves, and it's right inside of us. But the only entity that is out to save us from that is our Holy Spirit, because God didn't send us down here alone. He sent us with that divine spirit within each one of us. And it's not going to interfere with our lives. It's not going to judge us. It's going to watch. It's going to observe, but it will never judge. It will only be waiting whenever you ask for it. It's only there to love you and to guide you in the way of love. It's never there to judge you. The Course says we are not sinners. We have never been sinners. We will never be sinners. We are innocent, and we make mistakes because we aren't God, because we aren't all-knowing. We're not omniscient and all of these things that our ego makes us think we're supposed to be. We're human beings. We're having a human experience. And even the mistakes are good, because those are the things that make us want more. Those are the things that want us to be better. Those are the things that want us to have more love in our lives. So those mistakes are the things that drive us to do better, to give up things that aren't working for us, to dig deeper into our soul. Those are the things that drive us to the Creator and the Holy Spirit. And so we are not sinners. We are simply human beings, and we make mistakes, and there is nothing wrong with that. We are the ones that pay for those mistakes. And if we've hurt someone else, then we can forgive ourselves and ask for forgiveness. That's all we need to do. We don't need to keep going over it and over it and over it. God isn't going over it. God does not have a file. He's not checking it twice. He's not saying, here's the sinners over here in hell. They're going to hell. These are going to purgatory, and these are going to heaven. There's none of that. It's all happening right now. And where do you want to be? Do you want to be in hell, where you're constantly condemning yourself and others? Do you want to be in purgatory, where you're not sure if you want to be happy or miserable? Or are you in heaven, where you have chosen the way of the light? You have chosen to let the Holy Spirit into your consciousness. It will not force you. It's an invitation. It's invitational only. You have to invite it. It's not going to invite you, because love will find itself. Real love does not force itself on anyone or anything at any time, but it is all encompassing and all available when you ask for it. And that's exactly what the Bible meant when it said, knock and the door shall open. It's not going to pour out upon you. It will not go where it is not wanted. But when you knock on that door, it will flood into you. But you have to be willing to receive it. And many people are way more frightened of being happy and full of love and joy than they are of pain and suffering. And this is where we have to be really honest with ourselves, because some of us get addicted to suffering. And when we have moments of peace, we get scared. Oh my God, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do? There's no drama going on. There's no suffering going on. There's no pain going on. What am I going to do? Well, you have to learn how to love. You have to learn how to love yourself. But if you just let in that little tiny, you could be in a pitch black room and light a little teeny match, and it's a whole different perception. It's a whole different life. And we have to be willing to open that door, or to turn on that light switch, or to strike that match, and the light will flood in. And it'll go away the minute we tell it to. But as long as we stay open, as long as we leave that door open, that light will come in. That light will flood in. And we will experience that joy. And we will experience the strength that we need to cope with letting light in and letting love in. We will experience the strength of giving up the suffering. And it might happen quickly for some. It might happen slowly. It just depends. Are you cracking the door? Are you opening the door wide open. So the Holy Spirit is always here. You don't have to live with it. It'll just sit in there and be perfectly content, just accompanying you and observing you. But the minute you decide that you want more, the minute you decide that you want to be happy, joyous, and free, and you want to live why you came here, you have a purpose and you want to fulfill the purpose. You want to share and receive love with other people. You want to give joy and spread joy. You want to help people. You want to enjoy all the beauty around you all the time. You don't want to live in a dark box anymore. You want to get out. You want to see the stars. You want to see the trees. You want to see children playing. You want to laugh. You want to play. You want to have fun. That's why you're here. That's the only reason you're here. So if you decide that's what you want, the Holy Spirit is here to assist you. You are never, ever alone. So that's my lecture for tonight. And we have people on Facebook. Hi, everybody on Facebook. If you have any questions, you can Google them. And we open it up for discussion because your comments and your experiences are more important than mine, or equally as important for sure. And with that, we'll open it up for discussion.
I have something. Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Long time ago, I had a very instructional person in my life talk to me about absolutes, always and never. And one of those, when I stopped practicing the always and the never, and like it's always this and always that, and never this and never that. I started changing the word, even though sometimes the words meant the same thing. Sometimes you do this, sometimes you do that, and it was about pointing fingers and blaming other people for doing the things. Through the time, I've been able to relax some of that ultimate stuff and don't have that value of you're always doing this and you're never doing that, because that's a blame. But that's an armor that I use to protect myself and insulate myself from more harm. I started becoming more and more vulnerable. But through my time, I found 2 books that gave me the courage and willingness, but also some of the guidelines to stop being judgmental and allow people. And as my first mentor into recovery said, allow them the dignity of their own journey, because that's their journey that they're on, as you had the dignity of yours. The first book that was introduced to me was called The 4 Agreements, and then the second one was The 5 Levels of Attachment. And learning to be a better person and putting the things that I did into perspective for me, and it gave me the the courage to continue to plod along, doing day by day. But I still had that blaming attitude, and when you did this to me and you did that to me, and it was I was always looking for the scapegoat in that. When I read the second book, 5 Levels of Attachment, it allowed me the value to, people are not doing things purposely to me, as my ego was telling me. I was learning that people are going to do the things that they need to do to protect themselves, just as I was doing the same thing to protect me. So when I stopped buying into what they were selling and becoming emotionally charged and involved in whatever the aspect or the attitude that was coming my way, the freedom came. And so they get to do what they're going to do, and it gives me a level of acceptance that that's just where they are and what they're doing, and hopefully they will come to terms with whatever's inside them. But those 2 were very, very paramount in my journey of allowing people to do their process and just let them have their own things, to let things go, and to not to try to fix them, because I'm a repair person, and that's my work, but I also look for when people are damaged. I try to fix them too. Maybe they don't need fixing. In my perception, they do, but that maybe they don't. Maybe they're comfortable where they are, and if they are, that's their journey, not mine. So those two things I found them very instructive, and I refer back to them regularly when I lose some of my sense of path. But those were very instrumental, and also just I wanted to tell you thank you for many years ago when you said get rid of the absolutes, because that was the step, and I remember that from a long time ago, and I hope that you still keep those into terms. So anyhow, thanks for letting me babble on where we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Sean on Facebook, I truly want to shine in the light, but my ego is not letting me. How do I overcome my ego? Well, your ego has no strength at all. It has none. It's kind of like a TV set going off. You can turn it on or you can turn it off, or you can leave it on and not pay any attention to it. I guess that's probably the best way to describe it, is that it's always running like a TV that's not being turned off, but you don't have to watch it. So the only way out of that is to ask the Holy Spirit for help. And even if you don't believe you have a Holy Spirit, just try it. Just try it once. Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. Help me to see the light. Help me to connect with your shine. And if you do that and you practice it, you will get very good at it. You may not, it doesn't mean that we don't continue our human passions and our human experiences. You're not going to lose anything about yourself. The ego will tell you you will, but you won't. Believe me, all those character defects will hang around. But we just get better at better. We begin to notice. The other day I was very reactive. I was very upset, and I was watching myself. That is the miracle, and then I could shift out of it rather than days and days and days of staying in that state. I was able to shift out of it because I was praying, Holy Spirit, help me. I see that I'm all worked up and I'm all, and the whole time I'm doing this, Holy Spirit, help, help, help. And then, within a very short period of time, I was back, my true self was back, and the ego was put to bed, so to speak, put to rest. So this is just something you have to practice. There isn't like a magic wand that you wave. The magic happens when you ask the Holy Spirit to help you. The ego does not have control over you. The ego wants you to think it has control over you. It has this much control over you. You have to be willing to ask the other side of you, the true side of you, to see it differently. And that's the miracle. The miracle isn't that you're bad that you have an ego. The miracle isn't bad that your ego's in charge at that moment. The miracle is when you recognize that the ego isn't in charge and you need help and you ask for it. You knock on the door and you open it. That's the only way that you can reclaim your true joy and your true light.
Donna, I can remember one time I had a flat tire in the front that went bad and I lost full control of my car. I just missed one car by inches and I was going into a field and I was headed right toward a big old maple tree. And I said, Dear God, please help me. And that car went 90-degree turn. Hadn't rained that day. No reason for it to turn except it had to be God. And, anytime I think God isn't there, I can remember a couple other incidences where he's been there too, when I've asked for immediate help and I got it. So I'm very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Another thing, one of my aunts told me that she was jealous of me. And I said, why are you jealous of me? And she said, because when you go out and buy something, you think it's the greatest thing in the world. And when I go out and buy something, I bring it home and I want to go get something else. So I've been blessed that way too.
That you're satisfied.
Yes. Yeah.
And grateful.
Yes. Very grateful.
Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I had a similar driving experience. One time I was on I-95 and a car pulled in front of me and slammed on the brakes. I think that they were trying to avoid something in the road. And when I put on my brakes, my car started spinning out of control. And I was like, help. And I heard this voice very clearly said, let off the gas and gain control. And I took my foot off the gas and the car straightened right up. And I know it was my Holy Spirit. There's no doubt about it. That was not my voice. I don't know what to do. I was freaking out. But and it was such a good metaphor for life, let off the gas. Here we are through life, make this happen, make that happen. Full pedal. And letting go, letting go and getting control by letting go. That is such a paradox. The more we let go, the more control we have. Because then we are in unison with the divine, with the Spirit, with the love. And that Holy Spirit only wants what's good for us. Only wants us to have all that we're here to enjoy. Wants us to have love. Wants us to have relationship, wants us to have a satisfying career. It wants all of that for us. But when we're trying to control, even trying to control getting the Holy Spirit, when we let go, when we take our foot off the gas and the brake, then we have the control. Then we have the control. Cindy.
Yes, that's interesting that that you just said that about letting up on something, and then the guy that spoke earlier said something about allow them the dignity of their own journey, and both of those things resonated with me. I've been trying to help a friend who's she's disabled due to an alcohol addiction, and I have to drive her to her medical appointments. And I've been helping manage with this one doctor where I talk to the doctor's office sometimes, and I go into those doctor's appointments with her. And she was supposed to have a colonoscopy January 5th, and I let her manage that. She lives about a half hour from here, and she didn't manage it. She missed the appointment, wasn't able to get the prep, whatever. And so then I tried to manage the rest of the another appointment, and I couldn't get a hold of her. She wasn't answering her phone, and her boyfriend wasn't answering his phone. And finally I had to drive down there to find out if I was taking her. I drove down there on a Saturday to find out, am I taking you Monday? Because she wasn't answering her phone. And oh no, I've had some insurance problems, and I guess I'm not going on Monday. And then she had another one scheduled that would be like the third one. And I just decided, okay, I'm not driving to her house. I'm not going to try to manage it. And I kind of just let go. And basically what happened, Donna, is that she didn't make it to that. She didn't get the prep, or she didn't have something done, or she didn't do whatever she was supposed to do. So that one didn't happen either. So she missed like 4 appointments. And I was trying to manage it, and then I let go. But then what happened after I let go is that my ego got involved, and my ego was like, you should have been more involved, because the end result is that her doctor wrote her a letter and discharged her. So she no longer has a doctor. And so then I felt a lot of guilt that I wasn't in there trying harder to manage her situation so that she wouldn't have gotten discharged. So it sounds long and complicated, but it's a really big heyday for my ego, because I'm like in between blaming myself that I should have helped her more, and also then just saying, well, I should have let go because I couldn't do anymore. And then, I go back and forth, and then I judge her because I think, well, I was there. I was driving to your house to find out I couldn't get a hold of you on the phone. And so it's just like been really challenging. And I thought,
so by you trying to save her life, she's killing you.
Well, no, I kind of stepped back, and let her.
And then your ego got you re-engaged. And who's feeling all the pain and suffering?
Yeah.
Who's the one that's feeling all the pain and suffering?
Well, I'm feeling really bad for her because now it turns out that the doctor that discharged her, he's part of a group, and they're here in the South County, and she basically is going to have to leave the South County. She can't even get a doctor down here. So I'm feeling really bad, and she really needs this, and I'm feeling really guilty and bad about it. But
so you're feeling all the feelings, and she's floating around.
Well, she's starting to feel really bad about it now too.
Probably.
She's really sorry, and she's really upset now that she found out she doesn't have this doctor who she really liked, and now she found out she can't.
Maybe she'll treat the next one a little better.
Yeah,
have more consideration.
Yeah.
Well, she'll be able to get another doctor, but maybe this is a good experience that she'll treat the next person better.
Yes.
She has no value for his time or, his concern for her or yours or your concern for her, no value for your time.
I'm upset with her about that because it was not her fault for her. That was the thing. It was insurance.
But how can anybody take responsibility for their actions when everybody else is taking responsibility for their actions?
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
So the Course says we put ourselves in competition with God when we try to assume responsibility for someone's life.
Mm-hmm.
It's our ego and our fear that's driving us. Maybe if I do this, maybe if I do this, maybe if I do this, maybe if I show them this, maybe if I give them this, maybe if I try this, maybe if I drag them up. It's like
I even wrote a letter to the doctor. I wrote a letter to the doctor on her behalf asking him to reconsider his decision. I even did that.
So today I came up with a metaphor for somebody. It's like you are dragging someone up a mountain that is pure mud. And you gain a foot up the mountain and they pull you back down. And you're like, no, please, I'll go. Let's try it one more time. And they're hanging on to a root at the bottom of the mountain. And every once in a while you gain an inch and you go, oh, good, this time they get it. Oh, good. That is not love. That is not love. Love does not do that. Love is 100% available where there's a opening for it. There has to be an opening for it. It will not come into places that it's not welcomed, because that isn't love, that's fear. And everybody has the right to live or die.
Yeah, I'm pretty much sure she's probably back to drinking again, and that's why she disappears for a week at a time, and I can't reach her on the phone. So probably she does have that's what she's doing. Yeah.
Donna, isn't there a saying in the Course that love waits on invitation or something like that?
Love waits on welcome, not on time.
Welcome, not on time. Yeah, the person who shared about ego keeps getting in the way. The person on Facebook made me think that at least because of this Course, I know the concept now. Which is a huge improvement over before. And now I can, I can recognize times like he did, that the ego is pushing its way in here. And, that's a gift that we've learned here. So we can say, oh, okay, I hear you, ego, it's you again. And at least we can try to deal with it.
Yes.
It's kind of annoying though, because it would be just so easy to just ride with the ego. It feels so good. It's like, I think you were saying something like this, it's just, Oh, being addicted to victimhood.
To the drama.
Yeah.
That's why scary movies
Right.
are the most popular.
Or being addicted to self-righteous anger, you know.
Being
It
addicted
just
to
feels good.
to the chemicals that are going through your body when you're in those states.
Yeah.
Because it fills that, just like any other addiction, it fills that void. And so the thought of giving up all that, you know, and just feeling that emptiness that comes from life at times, from pain, just feeling the pain and letting everybody else feel their pain, you know, that is what the ego doesn't want us to do, because if we did, we would heal and we would get into the love that's underneath that pain.
Yeah, this course has taken all the fun out of victimhood. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, I'd rather fail at de-victimizing myself and then cleaning that up than to, you know, stay in that state.
Yeah, right.
Progress, not perfection.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Right.
Oh, so Donna, I just noticed the cushion in your chair, your pillow in the chair back there. I was wondering where that pillow went.
Which pillow?
The one in your chair there, behind, over your left shoulder.
You know exactly where it went.
Uh,
You just forget me asking you.
I was just kidding.
I've had it for years. Who else wants to share with us?
Did we lose Tom?
I'm here. I don't feel lost right now.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Better.
I said I don't feel lost right now.
Good.
I had something happen last week where I had my best friend from high school reached out to me on Facebook, and I hadn't spoken to him for 7 years, probably, you know, and he, you know, he's married and has a whole tribe of kids. You know, he's got his hands full, but he's also, he and his wife are very active in their church, and they've gone on mission trips, and he's raised money and done all sorts of stuff. And so I tried to reach out to him a number of times over the years, and didn't get return calls. And so I stopped trying, and told myself this story about how I'm not churchy enough for him. Which I really felt, you know, that's not a nice way to put it, but having grown up in a Catholic home and really getting turned off by everything that included, and then also, you know, if you're Catholic, I mean, the idea of going to a Protestant church is, man, you don't do that. So, in that sense, I did kind of feel like an outsider from that part of his life. And but yeah, I was pretty proud of myself because, he sent me this message kind of like you just did, Skip, are you still there, Tom Gentry? And I didn't go anywhere, and I just told him, I tried to call you a few times over the years, and I guess I stopped trying.
Uh-huh.
And he asked to talk, and we did. We spoke, and I told him that the story I'm telling myself is that maybe I wasn't Christian enough for him. And he apologized. But I was proud of myself just because I was just direct about it and honest. And the old me wouldn't have done that. I would have played some kind of game and beat around the bush about it and got to it in some indirect, passive-aggressive sort of way that I wouldn't have felt good about. But I did. I just dealt with it head on, and I was heard, and he apologized, and we reconnected, and it was fantastic. And he made it clear that he misses me and that he wants to talk again soon. And it was a loss that I felt like I suffered that probably has bothered me more than I allowed myself to believe over the last few years, because we'd been through a lot together. My late adolescence, early adulthood, and his too, they were some pretty rough years in high school, and we got through some tough stuff together. And so anyway, that was really nice.
So the relationship shifted from special to holy, where you reconnected, and time didn't matter.
Well, and that's one of the things I missed about it, because that's always been the case with him. We've lived far apart, and our lives have been very different, but we never missed a beat ever when we talked. And so, I felt like I lost that, and that was sad. It would have been sad to have lost it. But yeah, so it's funny. We started hanging around together when I was a freshman in high school, and it's funny. It's like I turned away from the best friend I had before because he was abusive to me, and had been. He was a bully, and belittled me for the things I was interested in because they were different than the things he was interested in, and I didn't like the way he treated me. And so I just decided, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Good for you.
As we went all through elementary and middle school together, and every few years he would decide I was his enemy for a while. I mean, it was just a bunch of BS, and I just kind of stepped away from it. And at that time, I'd started to connect with this guy. Ryan is his name, and we always said "I love you" to each other. We have always looked out for each other and wanted what was best for the other. And it's been a great friendship, and it is a holy relationship. So And it was also one of those things that getting sober, you know, hearing that, you know, you need to change everything and everyone. And, you know, that really wasn't the case for me. I had good people in my life, and I knew that. And I didn't need to turn away from everyone. I needed to change. And, you know, there are people who stuck it out with me through, you know, me at my worst for several years, and believed in me, you know, and were there when I got to the other side of that stuff, and he was one of them. So it felt good to reconnect. It really did.
Of course. Love finds itself.
Yeah. Yeah, the part about it needing to be invited stood out to me tonight. I guess maybe I needed to hear that. I needed to ask for it, ask to be forgiven. Those kinds of things I haven't really been doing, and those measures are going to come in handy right now.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you, and thank you for sharing that. And thank you all for being here tonight. And those of you that are on Facebook, you're welcome. I'm so happy you're here, and thank you for your comments. And if you'd like to be in our Zoom room, you can go onto my website, www.drDonnaMarks, MARKS.com, and you can just sign up for registration, and we will send you the email inviting you to our Zoom call. You're always welcome to join us on Facebook as well. So that's going to conclude. You're welcome. That's going to conclude our course for tonight. And I'm so happy to see all of you. And thank you for all of you who so courageously participate and share in this. It's very beautiful. And you're sharing and receiving your love with all of us. And that's what it's all about. So don't forget, you're all teachers. So continue throughout the week of being the miracle and teaching. And have a wonderful week. And next week we'll be reading out of the Course in Miracles book. And every other week's a lecture, except on the 5th Wednesday of the month we take a break. So have a great week, and I love you all, and I'll see you next week.
Love you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
To everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.